Welcome to the Virginia KidWind Challenge Renewable Energy Challenge Design and Documentation Judge Training video. My name is Remy Pengel. I work at the Center for the Advancement of Sustainable Energy at JMU. We, with the help of partnerships with government, academia, and the community, work to support sustainable energy development through research, education, and outreach. And I am going to be leading you through the overview of the judging process. First, before we start, a big thank you to you for agreeing to be a judge this year. We look forward to seeing you at one of our events coming up soon. I first want to start by giving you an overview of the challenge day. Our organizers will have emailed you, and in that, you may have seen a video of what the challenge day looks like. But from a scheduling standpoint, I'm going to present to you kind of a rough schedule. Again, your organizer will be emailing you the details of your event, so the timing might be a little bit different depending on how many teams are registered for the event that you're going to be attending. But in general, our teams start arriving around 10 o'clock. We give them a 1 hour window to arrive and set up their projects and their team tables. At about 9:15, we kick off our event with a welcome. At this point, we invite our host organization, usually a university or a college, to talk about their programming and do a little bit of recruiting. And then we offer the opportunity for an industry professional to also give a short talk about who they are, what they do, and a little bit about their company or some exciting project they're working on. And that kicks off the day. Within that welcome, we also go over a lot of logistics and we will acknowledge our judges. So if you can arrive by 9 o'clock to be there for the welcome and be there to wave your hand when we recognize you as a judge. At about 10 a.m., we will start the judging rotations. So, again, the judging piece of the competition is done behind closed doors, and the students get a certain time period that they're scheduled to meet with you. And so the teams are going to be rotating through judging, but they'll also be rotating through taking a knowledge quiz. And any of the teams that are competing in the wind competition will also need to spend time in our wind tunnel to get their performance testing done. Within this 4 hour or so block, again, this will range depending on how many teams are competing in the event that you're attending. There will be a break for lunch. And again, we are providing box lunches for all of our judges. At about 2 o'clock or whenever your judging ends, we allow a whole hour for the judges to convene and finish any scoring that they need to do, and then work together to determine the superlatives for each division. And we'll get into the details of that a little later. During that time frame, the teams are doing other things. They are invited to join tours of engineering labs or campus tours or other fun things to kind of keep them from getting antsy for the awards program, which will happen around 3 o'clock or as soon as the judges have finished their convening and all the tours have ended. Our awards program is not a super long program. We announce our winners, and it usually takes about a half hour. We do ask that one judge from each of the judging teams stay for the awards program because we really do appreciate it when the judges present the superlatives. So we appreciate you sticking around if you can. Okay, so we're going to start with the wind competition. The first thing I want to do is give you an overview of how the scores break down. So for the wind competition, I mentioned that there is wind tunnel testing. So 35% of their score will be determined for how they perform in the wind tunnel. And then another 15% of their score will come from their performance in our knowledge quiz. So you all, as judges in the wind competition, are responsible for 50% of their score, which is a big chunk. But just know that as you're going through and listening to these presentations and scoring them, you're not really picking the winner because that gets combined with the rest of these points. And whoever maybe did the best in the design and documentation doesn't always win first place overall. Okay, in the wind division, we have 3 divisions based on grade level. So we have an elementary division, which is 4th and 5th graders, a middle school division, and a high school division. And within that, there are also divisions that are based on if they have built a generator or are using something other than a KidWind generator. And if they're just using the KidWind generator. So if they're building their own generator or using something else that they've purchased, we call that the open division. Otherwise, they're in the KidWind division. And they should know that when they show up to speak with you, they should know which division they're in. And just know that you may be judging more than one age level or division, and you might even be judging wind and solar teams. Okay, so next we're going to go over what is required of a judge. So really, we are asking you to meet with assigned teams and listen to their presentation. They are going to have a presentation prepared. You're going to listen and ask good questions when you're given that opportunity, and then score each team according to the rubric, which we're going to go over in a minute. After that, you're also going to be asked to work together as a team to select a judge's award and a blade design award for each division. And also, you will be asked to give some constructive feedback in the scoring spreadsheet, which we'll go over at the end. Okay, first thing, when our win teams come in the door, they are asked to give you their profile form. So this is a profile form. There is one for the novice level, which is more like elementary, middle school. And then there's one for the advanced level, which would be like your high school divisions. And really, you can think of this as like a spec sheet for their turbine. So if you'll keep their profile form, and we'll attach a photo of the actual team members to it, so that when you come back to it later, as you're looking through your scores and trying to determine superlatives, you'll have an idea of, oh yeah, that's the one that had the 20 blades with the weird gearbox. Anyway. So it's like a spec sheet. It'll ask them things like, did you build your own generator? Do you have a gearbox? What was the blade pitch that you used? How many volts did you get out of your system? Things like that. Okay, once they have turned in their profile form, they will have a 7-minute or so presentation prepared for you, which leaves you 3 minutes in your 10-minute time frame to then ask questions at the end. So their presentations will look different. As in this picture that you see here, they are using a 3-sided backboard and note cards. Sometimes you'll see folks with videos or PowerPoint presentations. So the presentation mode will vary, but we want to make sure that they are getting to why they chose the design aspects that they did, and the documentation that backs up those decisions. It is important to watch your time during these presentations. Again, you have 10 minutes total. We try to have a volunteer in the room who is your timekeeper to keep you as honest to that time as possible. If we're low on volunteers, we may ask a judge to just be the timer and be really strict. We don't want your day to get any longer than it already is. So we do try to keep that schedule, because after they leave, you will also have 5 minutes to enter your scores into the scoring spreadsheet. When it comes to asking questions, we just ask that your questions focus on process, design choices, documentation, and be age appropriate. I'm sure if you're listening and asking good questions, I'm sure it's going to be great. Okay, now we're going to go over the judging rubric. You will have a paper copy of this rubric to take notes on. Each judge will have their own form to make notes on during their presentation. And then, like I said, at the very end, you will use those notes to spend 5 minutes getting your scores into the spreadsheet, which, again, we'll talk about at the end. The rubric is pretty detailed with lots of leading questions. The main sections here are looking at their blades, looking at their drivetrain, looking at their generator, understanding how innovative they were. So sometimes that involves 3D printing or laser cutting. There is a section on independence, because we do want to make sure that these students were doing the work themselves and it wasn't their coaches. We are looking for overall appearance and material selection, making sure that the turbine is looking good, nice and clean, the wires aren't everywhere. And then there's a lot of points that are specifically about their presentation and the way they presented the material. So clarity, delivery, was it practiced? How well organized was it? All of that is captured in these 3 sections here. The Judges Award, again, is one of our superlatives. These superlatives will be awarded if there's 5 or more teams in a division. If there's 4 teams, the superlatives don't really make sense because we want to encourage as many people to walk away with a prize as possible. But, at some point, it's not really a competition. The Judges Award is a fun award that really allows you as a judge to select a team that you want to recognize for pretty much any reason you want. They sang a song. They really had a great schematic of their design. They, had a wonderful engineering notebook, whatever you want to recognize them for. The Blades Award, on the other hand, is a little bit more focused. It's a technical award that goes to the team who's constructed really nice blades and has a really good understanding of the science behind how blades work, specifically airfoils, if they've gone in that direction. But really, if they just did a lot of testing on their blades, they evolved a lot. However, you want to recognize them as long as it's blade related. Okay, now we're going to switch gears and talk about the solar challenge. So, to give you a little context, the KidWind challenge has been around for like 14 years or so. The solar part of the KidWind challenge has only been around for like 5 years. So it is an ever evolving competition. And this year, in particular, the rules changed quite a bit. So I will say that these solar judges are going to have their work cut out for you. And we're going to ask you to be flexible and understanding and work with us because we're still learning the rules. I highly recommend that you read through the solar rule book. And there's a lot of specific rules around things like storage and microcontrollers that you're going to see more in the high school divisions. And you'll want to read up on and ask questions of us if you have any. Again, with the wind competition, you have the wind tunnel testing. In the solar side of things, you don't have that aspect. It's actually built into the design and documentation piece. So you have 15 points that are assigned due to how well they perform on the knowledge quiz. And then 85% of the score comes from when they go and hang with you and they get that 15 minutes to present to you. So you do have a lot of the kind of power of determining the winners here. There are only 2 divisions in the solar challenge because we don't have as many teams participating. The elementary school and the middle school teams are combined into the middle school division, and then there is a high school division. Again, from a high level, the role here of the judge is to meet with your assigned teams, listen to their presentation, ask good questions, score them according to the rubric, select your superlatives, which are the Judges Award and the Circuit Master Award, and then give some constructive feedback in that scoring spreadsheet. The first thing that they will do, or during their presentation, they should present to you their team report. So there is no profile form for the solar teams. This instead is what we call the team report. And the team report should be like a binder or some sort of bound set of papers that have a narrative that describes their solar home. And so solar home is the theme this year for the solar challenge. And so in that summary, they will have a title for their project. They will talk about the purpose of their project, their overall design, how it connects to their environment, and describe their teamwork. And then on top of that, they should also have a solar panel schematic, which is just their solar panels and how they're connected together, indicating voltage and current and terminals, positive and negative for each panel. And then they have a wiring diagram, and that wiring diagram will have one for each circuit if they have multiple circuits, and should have all of their loads and switches and things like that. They will also present a materials list, and this is just a list of all of the materials that went into their project, from solar panels and switches to whatever they used to build their house, cardboard or 3D printed or what have you, and their cost, so that we can understand how much budget they had. And last but not least, if they did incorporate microcontrollers into their solar project, as is normal, especially in the high school level, they need to present printed code that shows how they programmed that microcontroller. Once you have all that information, and it should be part of their presentation as well, they get a 15-minute time frame with you as a judge. Again, you have 7 minutes to listen to their presentation that they've prepared, but we've added an additional 5 minutes so that they can then demonstrate their solar project to you. As you can see in this picture, we'll have lights and maybe even a designed solar testing area that they will need to be able to fit their solar project under, and then demonstrate everything works. So turn on any switches, charge any batteries, show you how microcontrollers work, all of those things. And then there'll be 3 minutes left for questions, and you'll have your 5 minutes at the end to do your final scoring in the spreadsheet. Again, from the questions standpoint, once the team is done presenting, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. Again, we ask that you focus on process, design choices, and documentation, and really make sure that they're thought-provoking, but also age appropriate. Okay, for the scoring rubric, this is also pretty detailed, but it's brand new to us, so we're still working through it. You'll have a paper copy of this rubric when you arrive, and you'll have one for every team, and you'll be able to use them for taking notes during their presentations. And then in that 5 minutes between teams, you'll use those notes to then enter scores into the spreadsheet. The rubric here is got still some leading questions to kind of help you understand how to rank or score within each of these categories. So the overall purpose of the project is awarded up to 10 points, resourcefulness up to 10 points, aesthetics as well up to 10 points. The functionality is more like 15 points. And then the research and documentation is also 15 points. The overall knowledge of solar terminology and concepts is in here for 10 points. Teamwork, and then, of course, presentation delivery. In terms of the superlatives, there's also a judge's award here in the solar division. Again, the superlatives are only awarded if there's 5 or more teams in a division. The judges award allows the judges to acknowledge a team for something that you were really impressed by. Sometimes it might be, they had a really great project concept. Maybe it didn't function the way it was, but it was a really good intent and purpose to their project. Maybe, they really had a lot of energy. They had really great teamwork or ethics, however you want to award that. And then the more technical is the Circuit Master Award. So the Circuit Master Award really goes to a team that constructed a really complex circuit. They did a really good job of identifying all the pieces. Maybe their circuit or wiring diagram was really impressive. Overall, had a really good understanding of circuitry. And again, you can take this whatever direction you want, as long as it has focused on the circuitry piece of the competition. Okay, with that being covered, we're going to head into talking about how to enter your scores into the spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet will be emailed to you in advance of the challenge, and you will have your laptop to be able to access it during the competition. And you'll have a copy of these directions with you in the judging room if you ever have any questions. So you're going to navigate to the challenge scores link that's provided in your email. And you should have access to this. It should be, I think it's a Teams document. Once you're inside, on the left-hand side, you're going to choose the challenge date that you are attending. You're going to click See Just Mine. And then on the left side, you're going to find your name on the list of judges. And this will allow you to see a list of just the teams that you're judging in the order that you're meeting them. Okay, if you're judging win teams, you're going to expand the win section by clicking the plus in the blue column. If it's solar, you'll do that for the yellow column. Okay, now once you're inside, you're going to see a column header for every one of those sections of the rubric that we went over, like purpose or delivery, things like that. So once you're done listening to the presentation and asking your questions, in that 5 minutes before the next team arrives, you're going to transfer all of your scores for each of those headings into the spreadsheet. Easy peasy. You put in 10 points, 2 points, 0 points, whatever it is. And then, you are going to be able to come back and change these if you need to, if you've gotten through 5 presentations and realize I was a little too hard on that person, or I should have gave that person more points in that section. And you're doing this individually. So every judge will be entering their own scores and they will get averaged at the end. So you don't have to worry about conferring with your judges for these scores. So again, after you've met with all of your teams, the scores are going to get averaged. And then the very last column, after you kind of get outside of your yellow or blue columns, there is going to be a space for you to provide feedback. And we do encourage you to have some constructive feedback here. It could be positive. It could be something they could work on. The PowerPoint presentation was really nice, but maybe slow down. You talked a little fast or something like that. But just remember that these will be sent to the coaches and shared with the teams so that they can prepare for the next level of the competition if they're moving on. So they are read and taken to heart. So make sure you think about that when you're putting in your feedback. And that's it. Again, all of these things will be with you the day of the competition. You'll have the paper rubrics in front of you. You'll have received the spreadsheet in advance. You will have a paper copy of how to use the spreadsheet. And if you have any questions during the event, there's a GroupMe app you'll be a part of. And you can contact a CASE team member in the app at any time with questions. If you have any questions before your event, you're welcome to email me at pengelrm@jmu.edu. I'm looking forward to seeing you all at a challenge. Have a great day.